You're listening to Brandon Sports Talk, interviewing professional athletes and Paralympians and Olympians. And now for your professional athlete interview and your host, Brandon P. Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the U.S. Heptathlon and Bobsledder, Tiffeny Parker. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in the sport of track and field and bobsledding?
Yeah. I always joke around that the heptathlon chooses you, you don't choose it. I was a triple jumper in high school. I always loved running around. My mind is still what we call heptathletes as multis. I'm still multi-dimensional, love bouncing between a multitude of things. Um, so it ended up being triple jump, and then I dabbled in hurdles a little bit. And my high school coach had the idea, maybe you should try to throw a shot put. And so I ended up doing youth nationals as a heptathlete. I kind of tried to hide it for all of my college, like my freshman year. I was like, I don't want to do the heptathlon. I just want to triple jump. And there's an indoor version of the heptathlon, which is 5 events called the pentathlon. And so my coach basically, I went to the University of New Mexico my freshman year, transferred to Azusa Pacific. My coach was like, you need to try the pentathlon. I was like, I just want to triple jump. So literally it sealed my fate from there. Like that's how I ended up being a heptathlete, transferred to APU. Very fortunate to have both the coaches to a 2-time medalist in the decathlon. And so it literally chose me. I did not choose it. And from there, it was speed and power. That's who I was as a heptathlete. That's a good recipe for bobsled. And so one of my really good friends that I had the privilege of going through my career really with as a multi was Evan Weinstock, who was a decathlete that went to Brown, turned bobsled Olympian in 2018. And he was just like, I feel like you should give bobsled a try. Your speed, power from the hep could be perfect. I was like, bro, I am from Southern California with like concrete and palm trees. I don't know what a snowflake looks like outside of cutting it in the 4th grade on a white piece of paper. Like, I'm cool. I don't think so. He was like, too late. I already gave your information to the coach. I ended up literally at a tryout, and then 4 years later, from 2018 to 2022, there you have it. That's how I got there.
Of course, what was that experience like competing in college track and field to help you to obviously become a bobsledder?
I loved it. It's funny. I didn't think about bobsled when I was going through my life as a track and field athlete. I loved the fact that I had so much experience around me. When I graduated my my super senior year, I was very fortunate where I stepped into a training group with a 2-time medalist in the decathlon for the U.S., an NCAA 4-time decathlon champion, a Haitian hurdler, three-time world champion, Canadian decathlete. Like I stepped into such a powerhouse arena in a training group. It was like I had no choice but to elevate. And so I learned so much about training with a whole group of men, which was amazing. I wouldn't change it for the world. I loved it. And I wasn't the best in the group. I literally was training with the best athletes in the world. And my goal, like, as much as I'm like, oh, I can beat them, it was like, nah, you just need to be as close as possible. And that's going to set you up for success. And that was it between the just real true friendship and the real true camaraderie that we had together. That's what coined it. That was the speed and the power. Is when we lifted together. And I'm not as strong as them. Like I'm not as strong as these men were, but I would always try to be my best version and to try to get as close as possible. And in that, it just elevated me to be able to have a strength to weight ratio where not a big woman by any means, but like I'm extremely strong for my size. And I think a lot of that came from being able to be in the training group and the dynamic and just my work ethic, some genetics, but also like, yeah, that's what really blossomed and transpired everything into bobsled. And yeah, it was like I was just strong and fast. And so why not try to push this 375-pound object?
Of course, coming out of college, what was it like competing on the Team USA in track and field?
I loved it. Being able to represent the flag at any level is such an honor. And I tried so hard in college. I missed US Nationals by like two spaces for like 6 years in a row. It was like they take 16 and I was 17 for outdoor season. For indoor season, they take 12 and I was 13. So I literally was chasing a standard all of college, chasing a standard, chasing a standard, chasing a standard, just missing it. And I just tried to be better each year. That was my main goal. It was, how can I improve my point score? Because the heptathlon is 7 different events, and each event has a certain amount of points that you get for how fast you run, how high you jump, how far you throw. And I was like, okay, I need to just be 250 points better each year. Well, when you raise your standards, the rest of the world raises their standards too. And I remember July of 2015, 2014, I had a really, really, really bad hip injury that put me out completely. I was hurdling on Monday. Tuesday, I was like, my lower ab hurts. Wednesday, I could like barely jog. Thursday, I was making a doctor's appointment. Friday, I was out for 9 months of my career. I couldn't even walk on a treadmill. I had to go through physical therapy to just be able to walk again. And I remember my physical therapist, Sean Gately, like he literally rehabbed me back on track, literally. And I made my first US team in 2015 after that. And it blew my mind because I was just like, I tried I did all things possible. I followed the program. I was the first person at training, the last person to leave, and I kept missing the standard. I literally took a year off because my body was just like, no. And I did the small things. Like I worked on the mental aspect of the heptathlon as well with the physical. And it was so funny. Like I allowed myself to slow down to speed up, and not because I wanted to, but because my body made me. And being able to like get that phone call and have like your kit delivered to you, like my roommates literally threw me a party. Like it was a 4th of July party, but it was like an unboxing party of my first US kit. And it was so much fun to be able to experience that with them, because like everything's in your plastic, you get your little Nike roller bag, like you're just so stoked. So yeah, it's a magical feeling to be able to see your work literally get mailed to your door to do more work, because you have to compete after you get it. But yeah, there's nothing I can say to explain it. It's something that a person just has to experience.
While competing in track and field, what was it like competing next to athletes like Maggie Malone and Anna Kuntz?
It's so amazing because you learn so much from powerhouse women. Like Hep life it's a beast. Like it is not for the faint at heart. It's hard. It's grueling. You're putting in minimum 6 hours. Like that's why the Heps and the decks, after we finish the heptathlon, we all do a victory lap, because it's literally like you survived this 2-day stint of 7 different events. And it's the humble hearts of like Annie, like just who she is as a person. And that's what I love about the Hep and the multi is you really go through trials and tribulations with each other, and you get a chance to lift each other up, because injuries are going to happen. The mental struggles of where you're at as an athlete is going to happen in your career, and you really develop like a cool little just culture and community of amazing multi athletes that really care about, yes, our performances, and we elevate each other, and it's great competition, but who we are personally as well. And it's just special. It's different than being a shot put athlete or being a long jump athlete. And yeah, it's just a little community.
Of course, what are those competitions that you compete in as a Hep athlete?
I would say the Thorpe Cup was my most fun competition. I got a chance to meet some of my best and most dearest friends from Thorpe Cup. They take the US and Germany, and we basically do a head-to-head heptathlon challenge, 7-on-7, and we have a cumulative score for each team, and then that team takes home a cup, and like it's like the highlight. It's just so cool. I wouldn't say like the highlight of the multi, but like it is such an awesome experience to be able to compete internationally is just big. Like track and field international is such a huge community piece, deeply really ingrained in that culture. And so, yeah, like you have a crowd of like 100,000 plus people, locals, kids are there. I remember I was like the last athlete in for high jump. I was approaching my PR bar. Like you get a whole crowd behind you. Same thing for javelin. I was the last athlete, last to throw the jav, meet record. Like it's such an electric feel, being able to experience something like a Thorpe Cup or like anything like a world championships or anything like a nationals where you're just like, it's the moments like that where you're just, oh my gosh, I can't really talk about it because you got to experience that too. Apparently, I have no words for all of the experiences.
Of course, as a HAP athlete, what is it like getting to compete in different stages like throwing, javel, and shot put?
Yeah, it's coined my life. I am an executive high performance coach. Like I help high performers achieve great things inside of the workplace and on the streets or wherever they live. And I learned how to transition in my life because of being a heptathlete. The amount of time that you have to go from hurdles to shot put, you could get 30 minutes, you can get an hour and a half. If there's rain delay, it could be 2 hours. Who knows? You learn how to transition yourself, not just from sport to sport in terms of like one modality to the next, hurdles to shot put to high jump. You really learn to, I don't know, I just gave you the wrong order of the heptathlon, by the way. That's super funny. I was like, I did this for 15 years and it definitely goes hurdles, high jump, shot put. I'm going to repeat myself for any heps in the world. Catch me there. But yeah, you learn to transition yourself spiritually, emotionally, physically, energy wise. Like you, as you grow in your career, learn so much about yourself that allows you to be able to elevate and high perform at the next level, because there's going to be a new performance. Like you're going to go from high jump, you're going to have to come down and get your energy level settled for a shot put. Then you have to ramp your energy levels back up for the 200. And so I get a chance to take all of those coaching cues, all of those internal cues in terms of like, all right, go, no matter if you want to celebrate or be mad, you get 90 seconds to transition, mentally throw a hurdle across the field if you want to, or celebrate and like party on the sun. Whatever gets you there, you get 90 seconds, come back down to reality, go through your routine. So that way you can really set your performance for what is next, because you have 7 different disciplines to get through. I get a chance to take that whole experience that I just talked about and put it in an executive arena for some people that like have never been athletes. So that's what I love about what I've learned through having really just the blessing of being a heptathlete for so many years in my life is a transition. And different spaces of your life, you're going to have to transition in quick periods of time, longer periods of time, middle periods of time, different energy systems, emotionally, physically, mentally. It's the same thing that I learned being a heptathlete that I get a chance to apply to my real life now.
Of course, what has that transition been like going from track and field as a HAP athlete to now a bobsledder?
Yeah, that transition was rough. I'm not even gonna lie. It was hard. I competed as a heptathlete at 135 pounds. I was around 175 to 177 as a bobsled athlete. So we're looking at like a 30 plus pound swing just in like my body type. And being able to move your body with speed and power at 135 pounds and being able, to move your body with speed and power at 177 pounds and pushing an object, totally different things. I really had to learn to lean into the mentorship that I had, which was, like Alana Myers-Taylor, like one of the best bobsled athletes, push athletes and drivers to grace the sport. And who she was as a human and just the light that she has, but also like the powerhouse of an athlete that she was. And like she learned the sport. She crafted the understanding of learning the sport, and to be able to be in such a vulnerable place from like leaving a career where like you went from being a small fish to a big fish in a pond to like, oh man, I got to be a small fish again in this sport that like I have no idea how to push an object. I did not play contact sports. Like as contact as it got for me was volleyball and someone accidentally stepped on your foot under the net. Like that was a whole different ball game for me. So having people like that like I have the fortunate ability to call like my friends and family now, like Alana, to um walk me through what that transition looked like. Like she came from softball. So yeah, like I had those people to really look up to and to really lean in on and to help me understand that a bobsled athlete is more than just pushing fast. It's learning how to maintenance a sled. There's all the little intricacies that make a bobsled athlete a great bobsled athlete. And so, I got a chance to learn it. So that was a transition, is like I needed to be a sponge. And I wish I would have learned that sooner in the transition than I did later in my career.
Of course, how has obviously being a track and field athlete helped you into where you are now as a bobsledder?
I would say it allowed me to look at transition. Like I had the same approach when I graduated from college, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna like really take this heptathlon thing to a professional level. That's what we're gonna do. So in order for me to go to the Olympic Games in 2016, like I need to elevate myself X amount of points year by year. And so literally I just checked the boxes. I was like, okay, well, I need to be 250 points better each year. And I just went on that journey. And it didn't matter if I wanted to win heptathlons, but at the end of it, it was like, how was I gradually building my bank? And that bank just kept getting higher and higher and higher and higher until I was able to finally hit the standard. Like I wasn't one person out. Like I hit the standard that was required of me to be able to be in that arena and in that level of the heptathlete. And so for bobsled, it was the same thing. It was okay, like, man, I have a huge learning curve. Like I don't know how to push an object. Like it could have been second nature. Speed and power is there, but like I am very technical, like very technical. The events for the hep that I was really good and thrived in are like javelin, high jump, hurdles, like the things that are very technically sound. And bobsled there's a rawness to it and a real to it and like a brute strength, but like there are some technical aspects that are very important for you to push a bobsled well consistently. And so, yeah, it was just really taking a step back and realizing like, what are my strengths? And more so like, where are my weaknesses and how can I be better by like leaning into the people that are around me that can really help with those weaknesses that are being exposed. And where some people kind of cowered towards those or like try to pretend that they're not there, being a hep made me learn to lean into them. And so I was able to take that into bobsled, was like leaning into, hey, I need to be better in this area and I'm not quite sure how to do it.
Of course, what was it like getting to compete in Lake Placid and going to the North American Cup?
Yeah, I love Lake Placid. Like when going into a new sport for bobsled and being on NAC, which is the North America's Cup, it's like, well, Narnia, because I was from Southern California and had never seen that much snow in my life. And I have a new understanding of evergreens and like of foliage. Like no part of me had been to the East Coast. I was just like, oh my gosh, like this is heavenly. It's so awesome. And yeah, Lake Placid will always have a special place in my heart because it's beautiful. Like one of the most beautiful places that I've been, and I've been to some pretty beautiful places. Yeah, getting a chance to just compete for the first time on a developmental circuit and really being able to compete, but also learn and grow with other new people to a sport where we're figuring it out, but like some people are here that know it. Like it just allowed me to really be a sponge, but still be a sponge that was able to put in application and action with the things that I'd been trying to learn and develop.
How was it like, obviously, during your time as a bobsledder, getting to compete with athletes like Riley Compton?
Yeah, it's awesome. Like Riley is there's some good people in bobsled. Like I said, Alana Myers Taylor, Riley is one of them where who they are as humans is so foundational and it elevates them as athletes. And so I love that. Like my faith is important to me. Riley's faith is important to her. Alana's faith is important to her. And so it's cool to be able to like be amongst the best and people that are like really a part of a legacy. Like one thing that Alana said, and it's funny because I talked to Riley about this for her first, I think I gave her my track spikes for her first, she had to do a combine. She didn't have track spikes. I was like, yeah, you can have mine. Like you just don't get that. Like most people are not going to give away something for like that's like someone else's gain or spot on a team. Like you just people don't do that. But when you're around good people, and something that Alana said earlier on was like we're very fortunate to be a part of a legacy. Like women's bobsled is a legacy. It's one of the only sports that has medaled for the US team in almost every single Olympic games with the exclusion of one, I believe. Since it's been named an Olympic sport, the U.S. has medaled at every single games. Like that's a legacy, and to be a part of a legacy is something that I think everyone should know because it's not something that's taken lightly.
Of course, while competing in track and field and bobsledding, what has it been like, obviously, to learn with those legends such as Anna Kuntz, Maggie Malone, and along with Riley Compton?
Yeah, you learn something from every single person that you come across in your life, and so that's just the name of the game for me. It's always looking at who are the people versus what do they do. And I think a lot of that for me was that's how I wanted to be viewed in the world. Like, no, I'm not going to walk down the street and someone's like, oh, there's Tiffany Parker, who is a U.S. track and field athlete and a Bobsledder. No one's going to say that. They're not going to, they have no idea what that title is. How I show up for people, how I make them feel, like those components of who I am personally, that's what I want my characteristics to be remembered by. And then I want to also be a beast athlete in addition to that. But like, I want that to speak and announce me before a flag announces me, or I don't have a medal, but like if a medal were ever to announce me. So yeah, that's what I learned from those people is it doesn't matter if it's Annie who's was like on a world championship stage or the games, like knowing who she is as a human, and Maggie and like who they are as people, and Riley if she's going through her developmental stage and like getting into like the mid grain of her career and her bobsled legacy, like really getting a chance to know who those people are foundationally before they get to that podium. Because once you step off the podium, you're not going to walk down the street and be like, oh yeah, I'm a two-time Olympian. Like no one's going to, probably not going to know.
Of course, how is it like, obviously, representing Team USA on the heptathlete and bobsledding side?
Yeah, like I said, being able to represent the flag at any level is just magical. And it's something that I don't take lightly because I know what it's like to train day in and day out to have that opportunity to be able to wear red, white, and blue. And you don't just represent yourself, you represent your family, you represent your friends, you represent your communities. Like you represent a lot that comes with that flag. And when you go to a different country, you represent an entire country. And so that is something that, yeah, it's just being super proud to be able to be in that space, no matter what level that space is, where you get a chance to represent the flag.
Of course, what are some of your future plans in both bobsledding and heptathlete?
Yeah. Well, I don't see myself competing. I will always be an athlete, but I don't see myself being a competitive athlete anymore. I thoroughly enjoy high performance coaching inside of executive arenas. Like I love it. I thrive in it. I know what it's like to build high performance teams. I know what it's like to go into the mind of a person that wants to achieve whatever highest goal might be possible for them and extract it and break it down and create a program and a system. And it's the same things that I had to learn in my career, like looking at a giant goal of like, you have 4 years to the games. How do you break that up into year by year, month by month, week by week, day by day? I'm able to really build executives and more so like women, like empower women to really use their voice in a way that it's seen, heard, valued, and felt that gets them to an elevated level that they want to be. So that's what I plan to do with the things that the sport has brought me, which is those experiences, to be able to just bring that to the lives of other people in an elevated way.
What advice would you give those college athletes that are looking to compete on track and field as a professional?
Find your support system. I was, like I said, very fortunate where I stepped into a powerhouse training group from college. I got a chance to step into a space that most people can say they don't get the opportunity to step into in terms of the caliber. But I remember something that Brian Clay, was a two-time decathlon medalist who was one of my training partners and then turned coaches. And then I should say I was his training partner or vice versa. I don't know. I'll let him watch this later. And if I get a text, we'll figure out how that statement went. But yeah, he was like, training partners and communities are there to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself, because it's going to happen. There's going to be times where you have self-doubt. There's going to be times where, quite frankly, you just don't want to show up. Like, you're tired. Like, it's not easy. There's a lot that goes into being a professional athlete and like just trying to aspire to be anything great. You really need that support system of people that believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. And so that would be my first piece of advice, is find your community. The second piece of advice would be show up, like really truly show up. And that's mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all the things that make the human. It show up to the point where you do something daily that actually scares you. Like, push yourself to a point of just being uncomfortable. And that it doesn't matter if that growth is who you are personally or who you are professionally as an athlete. Like, always seek to find the spaces that make you uncomfortable. Because if you can do that as an athlete, you will do that in life. And like, that will elevate you tenfold once you step off of a podium, if that's where your career takes you at the end of it, or whether you just step out of the gate, like once you're done with your collegiate career and you go into whatever the world has to offer to you. Really lean into those uncomfortable, like almost welcome it to the point where you get super stoked that you've found another area that makes you uncomfortable.
What advice for you those college athletes looking to compete on track and field for Team USA?
Yeah, it's really, don't be afraid to do the work. Like, really set your goals, write it out, see it daily, and talk about it. Like, really let people around you know, and like your coaches or whoever that is, that support system. Find the environment of people that are going to allow you to get to what those goals are. And knowing your why. And I say that because if your why is, I want to be a gold medalist, that's great. But one thing that I was told very on, and why I loved the environment that I had, because I had mentors. I had people that have been on the same walk of life that I was trying to go on. Brian told me, if no matter where your career goes, from the moment that you decided to be done as a collegiate athlete and go professionally, when you step off of a podium, you better have something to step off into. And so that changed my perspective of, I need to be like, I want to be a gold medalist. Like, I want to be the best athlete in the world, to, I want to be the best athlete in the world, but like, I want to be the best person in the world as one of the best athletes in the world. And so I got a chance to constantly look and reshape what that why I wanted to get up and go to training at 6 a.m., why I wanted to do the small things like the foam rolling sessions and all the things that we don't want to do because we've already been at our track for 6 hours out of a day. All of those little things that really add up in your career, I learned and really got rooted in why I wanted this pursuit. So that way those little things they were easier to do. And I more frequently wanted to do them. And I could build habits and consistency around them because they were directly tailored to what my why was. And the why, the result of that could have been the best athlete in the world. It could have been a medalist. Like, that's what I would encourage people to do, especially collegiate athletes that really are looking at transitioning into professional, is why.
What advice would you give those people, such as yourself, that went from a sport like track and field into bobsledding?
Yeah, I would say people that are transitioning from one sport to the next. There's this tagline that bobsled is like the second life sport of an athlete. Like, no, it's not. Bobsled is, and people like, yeah, you've retired, so then you go into bobsled. No, that's a whole lie that society and the bobsled world tells you. It's its own entity. Like, never, ever, ever, ever step into a space where you haven't done your homework. Like, if you want to go into bobsled, or whatever sport that might be, like it's a second sport in someone's career, like do your homework, like look at what it takes to be the best athlete in that space. Like what are the best athletes doing? Like watch video, be a student of the game. And that was one of the things I loved about the heptathlon. I watched videos. Like I would watch Shantae Lowe high jump, still one of my most favorite athletes on the face of the planet, mimics her high jump approach. Like, yeah, like I found people that had my body frame that maybe had some of the athletic qualities that I had, and like I studied it and I looked at it, and sometimes I just tried to mimic it, and I crafted what worked best for me.
What advice would you give people that are looking to go into the sport of bobsledding?
Yeah, it's just get curious. Like go online, look at the combines, because you have to do one of those, and just ask. Like get on Instagram, like talk to Alana, talk to Lauren Gibbs, talk to Asia Evans, like all medalists at the Olympic Games in bobsled for the U.S. And from both sides of the spectrum, like the pilot side, which is a driver, and the brakeman side, and all from different sports. Like Lauren Gibbs came from volleyball. Like you would be like, what? And she is a silver medalist. So like really looking at the sport as it doesn't matter where you come from to get there. It's asking yourself, like, do you really want to be there? And are you willing to do what it takes for you to learn a new craft and a new skill?
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media?
Yeah, you can look at me and ask me any type of questions in my DMs. It's at Tiffy P. You can also go to my website, which is www.tiffanyparker.net. And yeah, I'm always here to help people if you have questions, or if you just want to talk. Like I could talk to a doorknob, we can have coffee time. I really love being able to talk through the experiences that I've had to really just build legacies and really propel the next generation of people to come. So yeah, reach out to me at any point, and I would love to hear from you all.
Thank you for your interview, Tiffany Parker, for your interview, and best of luck in your future wherever it may hold you. You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Tiffany Parker, for your interview, and best of luck in your future wherever it may hold you.
Thanks, Brandon, so much for having me here.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.